Okay. Okay, so let's start with advanced search operators. So what they are about, what is their formation, and how they look. Okay, so what I have in front of me are the types of advanced search operators that we'd be using, and pretty much, well, we don't have a whole lot of flexibility because there is so much limitation to what we can do. But we figured out so many ways to use them at the optimum level so that it will compensate for anything that otherwise they don't have very specific operators for, like searching for blogs, for searching for news, some of the sources that we want to get to ensure it's coming from specific type of information resource. So we'll see how we can optimize all of that. Okay. Now we have a description here. Well, basically these are categorized, and basically with the tabs that you see, we have something that sort of puts them inside of a category. We have a category we call snippets. This is where the advanced operators are going to bring information or scoop out the information sets from HTML tags, which eventually land into our snippets formats. That has three components, if you recall. It has the URLs, it has the title part at the top, and then it has a description, which is more than a few lines. It just varies quite a bit in how they're presented. So three elements. All three elements are looked into or matched with your search queries under title, under description, and under URL. So what it means you'll discover later, but for now we're just sort of making sense out of how they're organized. When we are trying to find something that has to do with the title or something to be searched inside of a title of a snippet, we use the advanced operators like in title and all in title. Now, between the two, you could see that the difference is just adding a word all and then one without it. So in title, we use quite a lot. All in title, we don't use much. It's not even necessary to use all in title, and you will discover why, as well as to understand, first of all, what is the difference between all or when you add all to something that is set on the left, which is in title. Similarly, in the description part, you will see we use an operator called in text, followed by a colon sign without any gaps. And again, it has the all added to it to give it a different blend. And it's pretty much the same for URL as well. So when we are searching into a URL, we do in URL colon, and we also have an option to use or add the word all to it. So this is, the area where we describe or we organize under the snippets, these three advanced operators: in title, in text, and in URL. If we are to discover the format of a certain document that the search has to stick to find or to query inside of those type of documents, the formats are XLS, like Microsoft Office has, a suite of different types of documents that the search engine at the time of indexing separates and organizes it and defines it or identifies with the format itself. So it could be PowerPoint, Microsoft Doc file, or it could be Excel. And there are so many more which are also indexed, but perhaps you don't know about them. So we'll discover those file formats. But file type with followed by a colon sign is really to stick to or restrain or or confine your search into a certain type of file formats. Then we've got source, which means it is now organizing some of the operators that are linked to where the query needs to go and fetch those documents from a certain type of information belonging to a source that could be research papers, could be blogs, could be news, could be anything that you want to get to identify with or verify. So that is why we have placed the three of these advanced operators: related colon, source colon, and link. Then we've got domain restrictions as well. If we want to make sure that domains are searched, nothing but those specific domains. So the restriction or restraint to ensure that certain domains are queried, we are going to use site with the colon sign. Then at the same time, we want to also at times want to look for something within a certain date range. So we have two sets of operators. One is before colon and another one is after colon. Before colon is before a certain date, of course, like the words say. Then we've got after, which is after a certain date. And to give it a range, you can put both before and after in the same query string. So it sort of has in between dates to be queried before and after. That's what we are going to also learn. Certain operators student ask about are, the ones that are now highlighted in this yellow highlight with this yellow highlighted. These are no longer operational. So you're not supposed to use them and we're not supposed to worry about them. Cache, not important. Image size, not important. Around we have done already. We did it last in our last class. Then we've got asterisk. Now, the asterisk itself requires a little bit of more understanding. I don't feel as comfortable with what we were able to cover on asterisks. I think we'll just have to work with it a little bit more. So I certainly would want to go back to the asterisk part and discuss that as well. Now, the formation of it, the formats, you see, it has got a typical format. It has a word followed by a colon sign. And then whatever comes after a colon sign is something that we want to discover or we want to ensure that it is defined against whatever the file type is, for instance, or whatever is in the title part, and so on. So let's see what the colon means and what these words mean, so we know the mechanics or the mechanical part of it. I think I'll have to use the notepad as well. Okay. So I think this example is for file type, and just so that you can relate to and identify with what it means, the components of it. I'm going to run it just for a little bit. Now the file type, the wording is insignificant unless it is followed by a colon sign and it is complete in its formation, meaning that it has a declared value like PDF is the format I'm trying to find, or restrain my search for PDF. So nothing gets returned outside of the PDF format. Okay. And for that reason, everything that you see here, including the operator and the declared PDF, the value itself, three components are visually is identifiable. One is the word file type. This word we call property name. So if you write something that is not exactly spelled as it's showing, or if you wrote something with a gap in between the colon and the name of it, which is file type, that would also not work. So what is important right now is for us to, first of all, understand the word file type itself can be written as, well, mostly we use the small alphabets. We don't use capital letters. So as a practice, I would say use file type in small caps, or anything that you're going to be using henceforth with these advanced operators should be in lower cap, with the exception of around, which we discussed earlier, which is approximately search operator, that has to be in the capital letters, like AROUND. That has to be in capital, but these small caps. The file type, the name is technically from the programmer's perspective, or how the textual search algorithms work. We call them property name. This is a property name. File type is a property name. What follows it as a colon sign is a call for action, or it is a function which tells the search that it is now converted into an operator which is operational in the sense of how it is, or it is ready um, for for interpreting or acting upon something, which is what we call a declared property or a property value. So without colon, action is not going to happen. Colon has a lot of significance in how the search interprets it. So there would be instances where we would not have to use the word, and we isolate the colon and use colon in a more creative way, which is not suggested by Google, but based on what we figured out as its operation, we were able to make use of it. Okay. So it is important to understand what the colon sign is capable of doing, and we'll see the practicality of it. We'll see how it is used. After the property operator, the colon sign, you see the property value. Property value is declared, always declared, or always delivered against the advanced operator, as if it is need to, uh, it has a need for action. And the property value itself has to have certain attributes, or certain, it has a significance in how it is to be measured against the property name, um, whether it is textual, or whether it is a domain name, or whether it is a file format. That needs to correspond to, or that needs to actually make sense against what you have mentioned as a property value. So if I wrote file type colon, and here instead of writing PDF, I wrote something else, or if it is not a file format, if it is not docx or XLS or anything that is identified with the file format, the function is not going to happen, meaning that it's just going to die on its own. It's not going to operate. Similarly, instead of file type, if I had, let me break out of this and I'll tell you what I mean by using my notepad again. So let's suppose we had file type here, and sorry, it's a Turkish keyboard to change it to English. File type, colon sign, PDF, fine. So this will be file. This has to be a file format. If I have to use, let me magnify it a little. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. They should be big enough. If I have to write an operator site colon, I have to make sure that it is a domain name, meaning it should be complete with the extension of a domain. So if I wrote AOFIRS.org, this is correct. If I did not put .org, it wouldn't, it won't appear as a domain name. So has to be domain name. You don't have to put www, nothing like, you don't have to do that. In fact, it is going to be counterproductive if you do it that way. Similarly, if you are dealing with snippets and if it is in title, it has to be words like A of IRS is good enough. Likewise, in text, fine. In URL, is fine. So these are all words or text. Or you could say that these are the search terms that you can put in. So for the type that is mentioned here or the nature of the operator, you have to declare the property as suggested or as it corresponds to the type of advanced operator. Okay. So just have to be mindful, nothing complicated about this part. Okay. Brooks is here. Hi, Brooks.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I got caught on a phone call.
Don't worry. It's okay. We know that you'll catch up. We were discussing the advanced operators today. We started off with something really exciting. Obviously, a more complex part. The booleans or the basic search operators were something that we pretty much could relate to and used extensively. So it wasn't really as troublesome. But when we get to the advanced operators, we need to understand the structure of it and see how we can optimize their use. So we were discussing this. The operators are set. So I was talking about the operator like file type, for instance. It has to have a format, which is what it's going to relate to and correspond with. And anything other than the format, or we call it a declared property value. What is this on the left or is written as word is the property name, and the colon sign, which makes it a operator, is a function or something that we called the uh, what is it? The command, or it executes the command. So you can call it property operator. This is how we started off. So you can catch up with it. And then, of course, we talked about, other operators like site colon. It has to be, for it to function, it has to have a domain address. You don't have to put www. Textual words that needs to be queried or needs to be matched as wordings, you will put it against in title, in text, and in URL. So that's pretty much what we covered so far. Now, another thing about the advanced operator is that we can use them multiple times, or we can use these different operators all in the same search query, meaning that we don't have any rules that's going to restrain or prevent us from using all these advanced operators in a search query. However, there are exceptions to certain type of operators that would not work against or with any other operator. And those are finicky, not only finicky, but logically it makes sense because some of those are what we call absolute commands. That means one command is saying something or is instructing something for the query to look for, and then it would not want an interference of another instance of the same operator to contradict it or to it's like it wouldn't exist or they don't exist together. So that's another part that we'll discover. Right now, this slide is talking about how multiple operators are basically used to work in the same query, as if we could basically split the query that you're looking at right now into two different parts. And I'm going to have to explain this also with uh, I have to get rid of the animation so that I can just pick this query string. If I have see, this is the query. If you look at it carefully, you could see that it is really two queries that you are putting into one or combining it together. This is just showing you the utility of these different operators that work together. So if I have to split this into two queries, I would make it a pair. So this could be one, and the other one would be, if you look at one and two, you could see that these are basically just two search queries. But if you want to combine these two together, you would get this one. So if I say 1 plus 2 is equal to, so this is what it is really. When you use multiple times this advanced operators in a single search query, you're basically condensing it, making it more, um, yes, more filtered for the results to be brought back. And you can use multiple type of operators. You could use in title also. You could use, others also. Uh, etc. So you can use multiple type of operators in the same search query. This means that when we are going to build our searches, we are going to be using all sorts of operators. But to begin with, or to get a better understanding of uh, these individually, we are not going to make it too complicated. First, we are going to understand the way in which that single advanced operator functions, and to learn few basic rules that, by the way, are going to apply generally, or they won't be as specific to a particular type of advanced operators, but in the sense of how I'm going to explain it, it would have a similar type of behavioral limitations or behavioral rules that would apply for all those that have a formation similar to all that I showed you, anything that is a word followed by a colon sign. So all those operators would be dealt with in will operate in the same rules and same sort of situations. So I'm going to now get to, or what I would like to explain is some of the do's and don'ts, or some of the rules that are general rules. And for now, if you don't understand anything that appears to be more complicated from the rules point of view, just stay put. When we start to use it, build queries, you would probably be able to connect with it. That would be the best. For now, just look at it, you know, just from a broader perspective. Just think of it as standard rules for all that is words followed by a colon sign. So if it is in title, for instance, and when I say in title, it means everything, like I said, it's a blanket kind of covering everything within these type of operators. So if I'm using in title colon and I want something to be searched as a name, and I leave a gap between the colon sign and the term that you're searching for in the title area, that would be an incorrect application. In fact, in title colon will not only not function, but it would actually turn up null results, meaning that it would just not bring any results at all. Just this mistake. Similarly, in title, by the way, this vertical bar, you're wondering, this thing in red color is just indicating a gap. So it is just a placeholder for you to just see where the gap might be and where you gap should not be really. So same thing, okay, here, what is correct is shown in 4. Then switching of terms. So if you have a query such as this one, where I am looking for internet research specialists, and I put, or anything that is followed by the term as an operator, file type, for instance, colon PDF, it would return you the same results as it would if you switched the placement of your search term, which makes the file type appear before and the search term comes after. So it would not make any difference. The search would not look at it as if it is reading from left to right or right to left. It is just going to look at it overall. It's just going to take a snapshot of everything and treat everything inside of the query heuristically, or just as in totality, and not as a sequence. Then we have certain operators that would not function, or they ideally don't want any other instances of competing operators to be put inside of a same search query, like all in title, all in URL, all in text, related, and so on. So this rule number 3, you will discover in more detail later on. You'll see the logic why it won't work. So that's rule number 3. Colon sign, the utility of colon signs. Certain file types that you cannot discover because they're not supported by the file type colon operator. You won't be able to get to them using file type colon. So there is a workaround that I would also show you, where we don't use the file type as a word followed by the colon. Instead, we just pluck out the colon sign and use it or place it, as you could see right here. So in this query, you could see that I'm trying to find a JPEG image, which is not discovered using file type because it's not supported. However, what is declared as a property name is the image of a white horse. And the format you want is JPEG. So you're just going to put the format and put the colon sign for it to actually look for something that is on the right of it. whereas what is required or the name of the property, instead of using typical um, operating or operators words, you replaced it with what you need. So the format, if you need JPEG, colon, and Whitehorse, transparent JPEG, colon, Whitehorse, and this is where you can find it. Same way, if you want to discover the forms IRS 1040 with the PDF format, you can replace the file type by just writing IRS or the term itself, followed by the PDF. Yeah, why transparent? Basically, it's just an example telling you that we are looking for a transparent. Again, my problem is that actually I'm also using a Turkish keyboard, so it starts to switch for some reason on its own. How am I supposed to get rid of that? Mm, where is that? Where is that icon? Here. Yeah, this is becoming troublesome for me. Okay, never mind. Fix it. Uh, it is English, eh? Just having trouble because I'm using a Turkish keyboard, and somebody gave me a program to convert the English version to Turkish, and for some reason it is defaulting to Turkish, and that's why it's not putting the I guess it's not responding it's supposed to. So if I want, I'm using transparent as a word, which could be any word. You could replace it with any word. And like I said, it's going to look at it heuristically. So it wouldn't matter. I could even, and I'm answering a question for, who is it? It's Admira. Oh, there, Anna. I'm answering it for Anna. Um, so if I used the word transparent, think of it as a typical query where I have used all these words. I could even make white horse um, appear like this. And just the same way as we were doing searches for the keywords or search words, we could use transparent as another word. So it wouldn't matter. The only thing that matters is that the format is now actually placed as JPEG instead of file type. So if I wrote file type and I put JPEG as the file format I'm looking for, and I want a white horse and I want a transparent image, I could just write it like this, eh? But this will not work. This will work. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say basically. And let's call it A, which is workable, and B, which is not workable. You know why it's so? Is because the JPEG is the format which is not supported or is not going to be interpreted with the use of file type colon. And you will discover more on this when you get to the book. And let's suppose file type is what we are going to talk about. By the way, in the book, because the book is got certain file formats and certain other type of operators that you don't see that mentioned in the slide, which is what is covering everything under the advanced operator, like format, for instance, like ext, for instance. These are the type of operators that are flaky, or they've been depreciated or not used anymore, but they do work. So it's not recommended, but because it is available, so we have placed them in the book. And because it was a version 5.0, when we are going to issue an upgraded version, we're going to test these out and then, sort of tune up on what is to be mentioned and what not. So when you're doing file formats in the book, it would also mention format and ext colon. But I'm more focused on file type because it is what is recommended, and we're supposed to be only focused on what is acceptable and what we know of are working well. I'm going to talk about the where is it? File type. Um, where is it? Okay. So if you want to note this down and somewhere to see what page number I'm referring to, this is page 118 in the book. And you would find that it is giving a list of what is discoverable or what is supported by file type colon for the file formats. In this list, you could see that, we have PDFs, we have, no, the ones that you are familiar with, Excel, XLS, PowerPoints, Doc, all of these file formats can be worked with or would be queried when you use file type. Uh, but in the entire list, you would not find certain formats which we typically, which is very common and which we query using searches like just specific types with the image icon or the image navigation we have on top of our browser. Those type of files or the image files are particularly searched by another utility, which is not the same as the one that you use for searching or doing deeper searches with the advanced operators. So the algorithms are slightly different. And therefore, since we are focused on the query search right now, we are not doing image searches. So I want to be very clear that some advanced operators are very specific to the query search. And one of them, file type colon, will only entertain or look for these different types of file formats. And in this list, and it is comprehensive enough because that's what's given to us by Google or for public to know. It does not have in the list any of the files that typically are like, especially in multimedia, you've got JPEG, PNG, you've got what else? You've got MOV files, WMV files, and so on and so forth. So many of them, all file formats. But the ones that you perhaps ignored and didn't feel that it was required, like .kml and .kmz, these are the ones that actually are giving you a historical records of images. If you're doing satellite images and you want to, let's say, find out an image of a certain location that needs to be used as a reference or something that is there, but you can't get to it. However, you can search for it and then compare it with the current images to see the difference. So the people who use KML and KMZ files as well. Um, and so there are different. So we're not going to get into what is the utility of, let's say, .odp and all of these other ones, because that's a different chapter altogether. We are more concerned, or what we look into is XLS, PPT, doc files, and so on. The typical ones we are familiar with. And so you can refer to the list also just to get an idea. However, there is now this is an additional information just for you to know. Certain type of file formats have a utility or standard, or we could say typical type of information, which is where we use those file formats. Like PDF is more for secure documents, more detailed documents. Even ebooks are in PDF, so they are more utilized, or they have more significance. In the Word files, you would find articles, they're not as serious work, or it could be an essay from a student that just got uploaded. But XLS files, for instance, they're of a lot of it has a lot of utility for someone who is looking for voluminous data online, or something that they can download, something that they can extract and transfer from a document. So XLS could be queried for that reason, and it could contain raw data as well as structured data. That could be another usefulness. The PowerPoints, short, concise information, knowledge delivery, quick, easy to look for illustrations, graphs, and things of that nature. You could always look for something with those wordings that you want to be found in PowerPoint. So you have that sense of knowing whether certain type of information would be best queried from PPT files or doc files or XLS, or anything that you felt that would have or has the high probability of finding that specific info. By the way, so that all of the you don't one thing that I will mention is that you don't have to query HTML or HTML files, because by default all web pages are HTML files, or all of those pages that are indexed are built with the HTMLs. You don't have to mention it. However, it does support, if you don't want anything other than HTML, you can always write file type colon HTML, and that would do it. Okay, or HTM. So those are file extensions. Let's look at some of the ways in which we can apply the file type, and we are going to start to run some queries in the browser. So before we do that, let's take a little bit of a break, uh, make ourselves some coffee, and I'll see you in about 10-15 minutes. So I'm going to shut my mic and my video. And when I come back, if you have a question to ask, please, by all means, you can do that or put it in the chat window. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to talk about the file formats, and I'm going to run some queries. Let's just copy them and put it in the notepad. So everybody there? Are we all set to go? Just give me a nod, put something in the chat. I know everything's well. You can hear my voice, you can see the screen. Okay, and you can hear me as well, Melissa, eh? Okay, excellent. So let's just start with, I'm going to explain to you some of the ways in which we can formulate the file type queries. And I'm going to start putting these queries in the search box just for you to see what the outcome is. So in this one, you could see that I'm looking for a Word CIRS certification, and the file type has to be PDF. I am going to now run this and show you what the outcome is. In fact, I already ran this one. So to show you what was brought back to us, this was the search. Okay. And what I got is all the I got all the return results that are showing the words matching inside of a PDF document. So you know that PDF document is searched as well. It is considered to be textual in nature, or you could say that the indexing system has a way of transferring or translating everything inside of a PDF document as words or as text. And therefore, it is able to query it and match your search terms. The results that are coming back is showing an icon or a small little, you know, I guess a little box that says PDF. So invariably, all of the results would be bringing matches inside of a PDF documents. So that's what you're going to get to see. Now, if I try to run the same query, but using a format which is not supported or which is not recommended by the file type colon um, to be queried or to be searched into, like JPEG, for instance, you would get a null result. See here, the result is 0. What you're looking at is an ad, which has nothing to do with the results. It is totally separate. So 0 results. On the other hand, if I wanted to query the JPEG or PNG, let's try another one. If PNG is going to work, 0 results. If another format, let's say, what is the other one? Just JPEG, PNG, GIF, that is also not supported. So you get 0 result. So basically, when you, and even multimedia files like MOV, because it is not mentioned in that list I showed you, it is not supported. And for that reason alone, you would have to find a workaround to still be able to look up these file formats. And based on what might work, and as I mentioned to you about the colon sign that can be replaced, we could pretty much search it by writing the term followed by a colon sign without leaving any gaps, and then of course without gaps the format itself. So if you're looking for PDF this way, you can find it, but what we need is a JPEG to be queried. So if JPEG, which wasn't working, if I do it instead of using file type colon, I just put the colon sign. Let's see what it will do. It is bringing back the images of CIRS certification. All JPEG images are showing up. So this is a workaround, right? Um, Another differentiator or advantage of using a colon sign is that if I put here in my search, let me just copy this and put it in a new one. Let's suppose I do PDF here. I want to show you an advantage of using the colon sign instead of the file type. One of the advantage or the differentiator, because when you are, let's say, doing, and let me also just put it in the notepad so you know what we are trying to accomplish here. So let's suppose I have something here which I just ran in my search, and I have something like this versus See, if I have to make a choice between running the query this way, and that is not trying to find something which otherwise is not supported by file type. We are just now discussing another aspect of using the colon sign versus the file type, which means the same query, which is 1.1 with the file type colon PDF, I would compare it with writing CIRS certification colon and PDF. I'll get two different sets of results, even though the search is restricted to PDF. But the differentiator is getting rid of the file type in this query 1.2 and the one that is using the file type. I'll get more results in this case and perhaps deeper search results. Okay. And these are class notes, as I told you. So when we get done with this, I'm going to place it in your folders. That's what we've been doing previously. So Doritha has just joined us. I believe she had registered for the course, but I didn't see her around. So I'm guessing it's her first class and just didn't get a nod. I don't know if she's able to hear me or if she's actually listening to this lecture. But if you are, then um, just see if you can open up your mic or at least write something in the chat box compared to 1.2 less results. Why is that? This is the thing. And you have to listen carefully the relationship and the differentiator. So 1.2 is standard. We know what it's going to bring. Now, when the indexing happens or when the pages are collected by the search, it is obviously is putting the PDFs in a certain slot. If it's another format, it's going to go in another slot. So gets organized. That's what indexing means. And when it is a PDF file being indexed as a PDF, you can always use file type colon PDF command to bring those pages, like all the pages that has an icon returned with the results in the snippet, as you saw, where it says PDF. And when you click on that link, it is going to take you into exactly that specific document or that landing page, which incidentally turns up as a PDF file. So directly it's going to go to PDF and open it up for you. While it is doing that, it is actually ignoring some of the PDFs that are not directly indexed, but indirectly exists on content pages. Okay. As an example, we can go and retrack it to some of the examples we did in the PowerPoint earlier with the way how the pages are set and the content is laid out. I believe this could be a good example. So if you recall, you could see that this page we did as, the different areas or different types of information. The middle part, which is where or what we call body of text, has a listing of PDF documents also. Like there could be a page which has a listing of different types of PDFs, and those PDFs are not actually indexed as PDFs, but rather identified as PDF formats that exists on these content pages with the title and I guess sticking to the title itself. If let's say in this area, one of the PDF files or the document one has a name to it or has a title to it, it is also going to match when you query without using the file type. It is going to look for the matching words in the title contained as if it is identifying any of those PDFs that exist on content pages. So basically, it is slightly different type of organization of PDFs compared to where you could actually use file type colon PDF to get to the actual document which is opened or which you can open or which is separately indexed. So this is the differentiator between when you are doing file type colon, you are getting to the exact file itself and it opens up. But when you are doing when you are not using the file type as a word and just using the colon sign followed by the PDF, it is querying not only the PDF documents directly, but also others that are matching or that are matching the title part only of those PDFs that are listed somewhere on the content pages. The result is that you will get a lot more returned back to you, more snippets you would see when you're doing colon sign versus when you're doing file type PDF. So if we want to look up the actual or practical way of how it is going to appear, you can see both these queries that I ran here. One was colon PDF, another was with the file type. You could see with the file type, we got PDFs, which means if I click on any of these links, it's directly taking me to the PDF. But when I've written colon PDF, it is not necessarily bringing information that is taking me to the PDF exactly, but also to other places where there is a listing of it. So you could see, I don't see a lot of icons, but icons will be there. So these PDFs are also included as well as the others that are not actually opening as PDF or not separately indexed as PDFs. So a lot more ground is covered that way when I use colon PDF instead of file type colon PDF. Should be clear, I guess. Any questions?
No questions?
Thank you. Isn't this interesting? A, a kind of a kind of a hack to what Google has offered. This is all they're offering: file type colon PDF.
I
But
personally, I had no idea that you could even do that. And if I knew that a long time ago, it would have probably saved quite a bit of time.
yeah, but again, I mean, this is what we are going to be discovering. So it makes it really exciting for, for the rest of the lectures. You would see that occasionally we will be, going around the back and, figuring out how to how to utilize some of the notations. Notations are more interesting. So I guess let's continue with where we left. So we did file type quite a bit. However, using file type has got another flexibility that you don't know of. So let's discover that. By the way, in the PowerPoints you have there, you have a copy of that. It's in PDF format. You can look up some of the examples. We don't have a lot of time to go through these examples, but you could see that the illustration is clear enough. So that might just be sufficient. If you look at this one, see how we did PNG. We discovered PNG. We could have, you know, and here I wrote PNG on the left hand side and declared the value on the right hand as a property value, white horse. Put the PNG as a, as a format. And here is another way. So these are different ways in which we wrote the search queries. Now, another interesting fact. So what happens if you want to find more than one type of file format using a single search query without having to do the search separately for different formats? So if I want to find XLS along with, let's say, PowerPoint and doc files, can I do that? That is going to be interesting. So let's suppose we take an example from here. and insert query. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and this question is actually coming from what you have learned already. So it's not a test of any sort, but if you can answer it, that's fine. If not, obviously, I'll just carry on and explain to you. Now, I have this query, and I want to search at the same time. Let's try to make it even easy. Don't get confused because of placements. Um, so if I have a search that I need to do in XLS as well as doc, as well as PowerPoint, can I do that for these two terms to be found in XLS file formats, in doc, as well as PowerPoints? Yes.
I would
Did
think
you have
so.
a question? Yeah, what is it, Melissa? Just let me know who it is.
No, Admira just said, I would think so, that you could search all those.
You want me to try it? See what happens? Let's try it first. Did you have a question, Brooke?
No, Brooke
I'm
does.
sorry.
Brooke does.
Yes, just about searching for Excel. We've got a couple of different examples there where it's XLS and then XLSX. And I'm doing another search and it's giving me results for XLSM. Do you be able to clarify that?
Yeah, both are file formats. One is a slightly older version. The XLSX is a newer version. So if you want to find something that contains both, we can even do, let's say over here, we can also type. I mean, it's going to find anything that you have named, which is a recognized file format. So if it is XLSX, it's going to look for XLSX. If it is XLSX, what is it? XLSXS and XLSX, you would have to specifically mention it. So if I need to find XLSS as well as the other form, which is what, XLSX again, or is it XLSS? What is it, Brooke?
Let me see, hold on. XLSX.
Okay. So this can be another, basically it's a different search. This one is a different search. It is specific to the format that you have mentioned. Like all the words or all alphabets that makes this format will be verbatimly or would be will have to be matched exactly as you place them. So if you were doing XLS, it's only going to find XLSS. If you do XLSSX, that's where it's going to go. So might as well put them in a row as I've done here in case if you want it this way, where you don't want to miss out on XLS access. So I've put both of these here. Uh, So, it has to be specific to what you are looking for with exact match of the words. So basically, what I'm trying to figure, so that answers your question. You will have to search them with the wordings as you put them. It's not going to look for like XLSSX is not just going to look for XLSS. It is going to instead look for only this and ignore XLSX. So what the idea of which is what we are getting to is to discover the same wordings in certain file formats and to see if we can put more than one, and put for how many of these we can put together. Will it
Would you
work or not? So that's
would
what we are going to discover.
would you need to put or between each of the different factors?
Yeah, you have to put them all this way. You don't put XLSS and then put XLSSX and others. So it has to be identified with the command itself, which is file type colon. So if it is more than two, or there's doc and PPT as well as, so however many are there, you'll have to use file type in each one of these.
But would you need to put or between, let's say, file type XLS and then or file type XLSX or file type, etc., etc.?
I haven't
Oh,
seen or heard of a command that says all file type colon. Have you?
no, I was just running I guess, an example search for something I'd be using.
No, no, no.
And
Don't
if I
create something that it doesn't exist. So the all that we are familiar with, the word all that gets added to is, as far as I know, it gets added to all in title with that in title thing, in text, all in text, and that's where I've seen all to work. Nothing more than that. So as far as file type is concerned, you're not going to type all file types. This is not going to work. Okay. It's not going to work, or
sorry,
nothing.
maybe it was
Yeah, nothing.
the accent, my accent, sorry, it was OR search.
Okay.
OR between those different file types.
Yeah. So let's continue with this example. Maybe things will get clearer. So let's suppose I have three file formats I want to search. Would I be able to do this or not? So what is the answer? Anybody, yes or no? Somebody said yes. Was it Admira or
Yeah,
some?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. So let's try it. I'm going to copy it and put it exactly as you see it. Elasticsearch with, I don't think that this word is going to gel with census. Let's make it even simpler. At least put California, for instance, as a state. Yeah, now it makes sense. I mean, words have to somehow make sense together also. It's not like we could just put random things. Okay, so I'm going to run it in the search box. So who said yes, it's going to work?
I did.
Was it
Yeah.
Admira?
Yep.
Okay. See the results?
Yeah, it didn't work.
So didn't work. Why? Because file type is an absolute command. Just whenever I say absolute command, it means that it would not coexist with any competing command that is or or it's the same command applied twice. Because when you say file type, it means it has to be sticking to a certain type of file format and nothing else to compete with. So that's why it is an absolute command. Okay, but to open it up and for us to make the search work this out, we make slight adjustment in our query. What I've used is a notation, so just follow the notations. You know what this one stands for, right? This is or, isn't it? You remember from Boolean, I could use or I could use vertical bar. Okay, so I've used a vertical bar. Wouldn't matter even if I use or. Now I want another vertical bar here. So I have actually manipulated the instructions or changed it slightly so that the search would treat all three as if to find all of them or find at least one.
I
Isn't it?
believe that's what Brooke was asking before, if you could use that bar or the OR command that way.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So, so this, you can see this happens when, when I get done with what I'm explaining, you would be in a better position to ask. So the idea was really to bring you to this solution so that if you have to do multiple, if you have to do searches in multiple documents, you could do it by using OR command. So with the OR, you are able to find at least one out of the three or find all of them. So having done this, I'm going to run this. There is doc file. XLS I found, PowerPoint I found. So pretty much it has done the job for me. So I do need to put a vertical bar or an or sign for it to make it work and for it to respond. Otherwise, it is not going to uh, give any results. Now, another thing which is very peculiar and um, it negates the entire idea of what we were following so far. When we start to say use the PDF as an option, or where PDF file format is competing with other file formats. Now, what happens is, and it is not that the query is set incorrectly, it is absolutely perfectly put together, nothing wrong with it. The only thing is that somehow, whenever you use the PDF, it invariably starts to precede, or it would just somehow mask the outcome of any other format, as if it would not give room to XLS or PowerPoint to show up. It somehow dominates the other formats. So you would see more of PDF results, and somehow XLS and PPT, perhaps they are somewhere there in the 10th or 20th or towards the end of where the search outcome we don't even see, like so many pages we get to see as SERPs that appear in front of us, but could be there later on somewhere. We cannot find it. We did not see whenever we used PDF, we couldn't find PPT and XLS. So it is an assumption that PDF somehow is more dominant file format, and it overshadows others. So when I do a search here with the same query format, I see it's bringing PDFs. You see, all of these are PDFs. If I have to look for XLS or PowerPoint, I'm not able to get to it. I don't see anything that is bringing me XLS or PowerPoints. And assuming there's just two results that I'm able to see, or two pages, even in the second one, I don't get to see it. Maybe it's in the 10th page, which search is not even showing, but that is, it's like a black hole. We don't know. But suggestion, the bottom line, when you have a competing PDF, um, don't have to use it with other formats. I mean, it's not going to work. So the exception to doing multiple searches with multiple file formats, don't use PDF as a competing file format. there are rules and then there are exceptions, and exceptions are very, uh, seldom, but they do exist. And whenever we have those exceptions, I'll mention it to you. And if you recall, when we were doing asterisks, the wildcard or a placeholder, I told you that there is an exception to how the asterisk is treated inside of the quotation marks. Whenever it is placed within the quotes where, you need to find something missing, it's going to look at it differently from what it's supposed to, or ideally it is supposed to have a mirror image or exact same thing, even though it could be notations of any sort. Whichever is placed inside of quotes, it is considered verbatim exact mirror image to be matched. And the exception for the asterisk is that it is not treated as a mark or a notation to be matched verbatim, but rather to be interpreted or to be resolved as something missing. So that's an exception. And this is another exception you saw with the file type. Okay. Okay. You should try these searches also. You see, the way colon mark is used, you could see written it in 3 different ways. Okay. So it is for you to discover, and perhaps for you to actually just try out different versions or different ways of writing those queries using colon, so that you have a practice, and you also discover things that for which you may have more questions to ask. Anyway, so we have to be selective in what we are trying to find. Now with the, okay, we don't need this right now. So what happens if you don't want results to be returned from a certain file formats? This example that you're looking at, the first one, it is using a minus sign. It is telling the search not to bring results from PDF file formats and exclusively bring it from XLS. And I have not used the OR sign, and still it's going to work. What is the logic, do you think, where one is working alongside the other file, the other instance of file format, difference being that there is a minus sign. And because of putting it as a minus or removing the PDF results, you don't really need to put the OR. It's because the minus file type is now changing or metamorphing into another function, which is to eliminate something. And then XLS is what is supposedly an absolute command to ensure that the results are delivered from XLS only. But practically, I won't even need the minus file type PDF. Why? Because XLS is already indicating that you are only looking for file types within the XLS formats. So why worry about why would you write minus file type PDF? It's not bringing PDFs, it is just bringing XLS. That is where this command is pretty much complete in itself, and it would not need minus file type. However, it would be a good idea if instead of writing file type XLS, if we did not want anything returned in PDF, this query would make a better sense. Now it is telling the search not to bring anything out of PDFs and find everything else, could be any file format. As long as it is not a PDF, you should be okay with it. So that's where you're going to use the minus. So there is a logic to it. Okay, these parts we covered already. Okay. Now, let me check if there is any specific or any type of query that might be interesting or for me to actually finish up so I can conclude the file type. I'm going to look at some examples from the book and look for anything that is worth mentioning. That's pretty much it. So we're done with the file type. I'm going to have to start with the snippets or in title, all in title, and so on. So I'll be shuffling between the book because some illustrations are really nice in the book. And some of the stuff we'll do through the slides. Let's look at this illustration. And we're going to talk about in title and also to understand what the word all makes it appear or makes it change the function of it. So first of all, let's do a little bit of a refresher on what is brought into the snippet as an information set when you are searching or when the search terms are getting matched with the specific type of operators, which will only look for information in those HTML tags that it can identify with or correspond with the advanced operator or whatever is named as advanced operator. So if it is, looking at first, can you see this illustration and make sense out of it? It is slightly complex. It seems that it is, kind of a 3D. Okay. What is shown on top is a snippet. What is appearing behind, which is, I believe that is B, that's the page that you get to when you click on this link. And whatever is appearing in B is coming from a code or the HTML that is running behind it. Okay, so this is the HTML portion. So code, the page, and the snippet, three different areas. The URL part is collected from the code because you know that the search is reading HTML. It is not reading what user is looking at. So when it is when the robot is querying the page or when it is looking or at the time of indexing, it is going to look up some of the important tags and the information inside of the tags. The part which is mentioning the URL is going to be collected from a tag called href. So this is what is coming here. Then the keywords that you see as meta name keywords, this tag is a container of words which is not meant to be presented or be visible in B, or the user side is not going to look at it. These are hidden or these are running, but it has a meaning for the indexing. It has a meaning for the search engine optimization and so on, but it would not be mentioned for the users to observe or look at. Therefore, it is hidden. What is brought in the snippet is, let's say, the title part or this information. This title is collected from a tag called title. See, this tag is title. And the information is, or anything that is textual enclosed inside of the title tag is brought and presented in front of you as more, I guess, lesser words, but it is called the title part, which is clickable. That's where you click to get to the landing page. And then the third element, which is a description part, is coming from a meta name description, as well as another part of the body of text, which is going to have added text or more text or deeper, longer textual content. That is also the part when you are doing or matching something using in text colon, it is going to query the description as well as everything in the body of text. So in URL is going to be looking for words in the URL part like this one. The in title would be looking and matching part in the title tag. And then of course the description is going to go deeper. So each part or each type of operator is going to actually match things or collect information based on the tags and the type of operator you're using. If you're using in title with the colon sign and you're putting the words like this one over here, it is only specifically querying and matching terms in the title tag and nowhere else. So that is where we could say that in title is going to be restricted to a certain information set within content pages. And for me to show you, if I change the in title to all in title, there would be a matching of words. Where is it? Where did it jump? Okay. So here I've used in title, Internet Search Engine Index. Okay. So when I write in title, I'm asking the search to find for sure or for a fact or as a mandatory return the first word which is actually touching the colon sign, or anything that is a declared property right after the colon sign is a mandatory return. Everything else that follows the first word is an option. So the search would look for either internet or internet search or internet search engine, depending on the popularity of these words connected as if, and you can notice I haven't put anything within quotes. And this is to explain, as I'm doing right now, the fact that internet is mandatory, whereas internet search or internet search engine together could be an option for the search to select or assume as group of words to be brought or matched together in the title portion. Okay, and so would the word index. Okay? However, the in title, while it is ensuring internet as one word, may connect with search and the word engine. However, it can drop any of these words or may not be asked or um, may not be responsible for including the word index, not because it is the last word, but because it decides to only pick and choose as if internet search engine 3 words are easily available, while index is slightly difficult, it would drop as if it exercised its option. So this is with using in title. Okay. However, and you could see the result also. You could see that in the title portion, it looked for internet search engine, and because it is in title, so focus on that in title part. Rest of it is different. We are just focused on this. And we could see that the result it bought, it had internet search engine intact as 3 words, but no word of nothing to do with index in the title part. However, the word index could be something that it will find in other areas of content page. So it is going to do its best match to also look for something which has for sure these 3 words due to in title colon, whereas the word index could be a secondary priority and it may not be included in the in title, yet it exists somewhere in the content page. So this is the maximum effort with in title. But compare this with all in title. If I had used instead of in title, I use all in title. Now with all in title, as the word says, that I want everything that is following the colon sign, including internet, including search engine and index, all these words to be present in the title part. So I'm forcing the search to find everything that is following or you know that needs to be returned as a combination of or all of these words in the title part. This is why we got internet search engine index included in the title. Okay, only because we used all in title. Another thing which is not mentioned here, but I might just add, is when you used all in title, it does not mean that it is going to maintain the sequence of words as they are displayed. So assuming that nothing is inside of the quotes, all these words may be present, but suppose instead of internet search engine index, the title said internet search engine, and index could be an extension of other words or included in somewhere in the sequence of how the title is displayed, but not as a single search term, but rather split into index as part of it, as a separate word somewhere in the title, and internet search engine together as it found to be present, but not including the word index. So that's what all in title means, that include all the words, but you know, and if you compare it with in title, that's an option or a kind of a flexibility you give to your search by using in title instead of all in title. The problem with using all in title is that it is also an absolute command, and ideally it would not work with any other operator that you're going to place next to it, or even if you use the or as an option, it still is, it's going to work, but it does not make too much of a sense when you compare all in title with another instance of all in title. Normally, I would not use all in title as much as I would use in title, and you would see that invariably, most frequently you would see in the examples we have in the book is using in title. And there is an advantage. Right now, I told you some of the disadvantages of all in title, but there are far too many advantages of using in title, which is where I want to discuss in detail what would be more beneficial and how it would give a flexibility to your search queries. Best choice would be in title versus all in title. So all in title, I'm not using. So that part I'm going to continue in my next lesson. We would be covering the in title and in text as well as in URL. But in URL would require a lot more time, and it has a kind of an advantage or utility which is less known, or perhaps you would find usefulness of that in great detail when we get to that. But with the in text and in title, we should be finished in our next session. So I'm going to conclude our today's lecture a little early. We'll catch up on in title, and then we'll do in text. If you get a chance and if you feel that you want to learn a little bit more on your own, perhaps you should just go through pages 130 to yeah, just go through page 130 all the way up till just getting introduced to in text. Page 137, that should be sufficient. So 6 or 7 pages. You can just quickly look at them, and perhaps you would have more questions to ask when I see you next time. So far, all is good. You can see that we have covered quite a bit. File type especially, I think we have done that thoroughly. So if you have a question or something in particular that you would want to look for using file type, we can do that. We have about 5-10 minutes. We can do that. How is it going for you, Brooks, so far?
Going good. Yeah, there's a lot of practical applications I can use for my day-to-day work with some of those, especially with the document side of things, PDFs and Excels. They will be very helpful.
Definitely. And like I said, you could use XLS, XLS and XLSX. Just put the or sign, and you could do search for both from both. Shouldn't be a problem. And
Excellent,
like
thank
I
you.
said, another usefulness of, how I taught you about looking for PDFs, you can basically query in deeper and find a lot more documents using the colon sign alone without putting the file type colon. That is really a huge advantage. You will find, in fact, I use it quite often because I know and I've discovered so many PDFs that I was missing out on, research papers I couldn't find, title of things that were otherwise not discoverable because they were not indexed as PDFs, yet they exist. I mean, they're there, except that, with the colon PDF, I was able to get to those pages and go through the listing and discover those that, I could perhaps click on those PDFs and then get to where, I needed to be. Basically missed out on so many of those. And now I'm discovering them. So that was exciting. And I'm sure you will have the same experience with it. So anyway, let's just call it an evening for me, and good day to you, Brooks. You still have a long day to go.
I
And
do, yeah,
everybody
back to work.
else, everybody else, Melissa, I didn't hear from Doretha. I was just wondering, it seems that she doesn't have a mic or nothing there. So I believe she's probably going to catch on with the recordings or recorded lectures. Anyway, thanks again. I hope to see you next time, day after. Bye-bye for now. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.